All right, we're back. Slightly different room. It's because I'm back in the Netherlands and I was in Thailand working for 3 months. I can recommend it if you want to work with a lot of focus and no disturbances. And yeah, we're back. I'm going to do an important video today, which is going to cover conversion rate optimization. So a lot of people know that conversion rate optimization is important, but not a lot of companies actually implement it. And that's because of a barrier of entry, because they just simply don't know how to do it. I knew that it was important. I haven't always done it. I really started taking it seriously a couple months ago. I developed good processes for it, and I'm going to share those with you today. Now, first of all, as always, let's validate the importance of conversion rate optimization. So one of my recent cases is where we did an A/B test with statistical significance. So we used proper A/B testing software to test two different landing pages, or two different product pages, as you'd say. The outcomes of that are gigantic. We were fortunate that the original landing page really sucked for this client that we onboarded, so it was easy to make an improvement. But the improvement was above my expectations, to be honest. I didn't overpromise, but what we got was over-delivered. The test was the product page, and the uplift in revenue per visitor was 39%. Now, for those of you that don't know, you have conversion rate and you have revenue per visitor. The reason I refer to revenue per visitor is because conversion rate varies based on average order value. So it has a relationship with average order value. If the average order value goes down, conversion rate usually goes up. So they have an inverse relationship. So if you have a store with different product values and you only focus on conversion rate, then yeah, sure, maybe your conversion rate goes up, but maybe they're just buying lower tier products, or they are buying in lower quantities, right? So it's really important that you focus on revenue per visitor, because that's where average order value meets conversion rate and you can actually get more from your visitors. Now that 39% increase in revenue per visitor with a statistical significance of 96, 97%, that ultimately leads us to a yearly revenue increase of 1.1 million. Let's just sit with that for a little while, right? Because that is insane. You have the same store, you're selling the same products, you're doing everything the same, but at the end of the year, thanks to one A/B test, you're getting over 1 million in revenue. And that's enough, right? That's enough validation. But let's still continue with another example. The first one was a pharmaceutical company doing about 300,000 roughly in monthly revenue. And then this example is of an e-commerce supplement brand doing anywhere between, I think, 50,000, and then we got it up to 90,000 in 60 days or whatever. And what we did there was also a landing page test. The old landing page was really boring, I would say. So they talked a lot about the ingredients of the supplement, but the stuff was so advanced that actually nobody knew these ingredients besides the person or the people actually making them, right? So it made no sense, the verbiage, for I'd say 95% of the traffic. So we changed the verbiage, we put a video on the landing page, and that was all in line with the best performing ads that we started testing for them. So we found winners, then we took that messaging and put it on the landing page. We saw a 64% increase in conversion rate at the time and a 40% decrease in cost of acquisition. So really nice metrics. I can't tell you what the revenue per visitor was, in all honesty, because we weren't at that stage yet doing it that properly, right? So it's really important that you do it properly, and I'll teach you how to do it on this video. So let's dive in. Just looking at my notes real quick. So the first thing is, how do you actually get ideas on what to test, right? Because the outcome really depends on the foundation, which is, do you have a good hypothesis, right? Are you testing the right things? Because if you test the right thing, you'll get the right outcome, at least most of the time, right? So we want a good foundation. Now, what I like to do is I like to get first party data, right? Because you can use best practices and you can get pretty far with that. But ultimately what you want to do is you want to solve the bottleneck for your business, not someone else's. You need to find out what's happening in your business. Now, one of the best tools that I found to do this is Hotjar, but you have a multitude of softwares that do the same as Hotjar. I like Hotjar. You can use Hotjar. You can use whatever you like. What is cool about Hotjar is that you can use it to view scroll maps, which basically lets you view what the percentage is of people that see a certain part of the page. So for example, you have the first fold on desktop. This is what we call the above the fold. And the fold is basically until where you can see the screen upon loading. So the first fold is really important because a lot of people don't even scroll past the first fold. So that's why we say first fold is really important, because that's at least where 100% of the traffic is going to be. Anywhere down there, you're going to see that you start losing eyes very fast. So a scroll map indicates, all right, 100% of people are here, then 70% of people, then 50% of people, and it just goes down, I'd say exponentially. So you see more and more plummeting faster and faster from a landing page. Now, that scroll map can tell you what people are seeing and what people aren't seeing. So what I regularly see on product pages is that people forget to use one of the most basic things, and that's an icon, right? So if you're in e-commerce, it could be a return policy where it's like, all right, 30-day warranty or 30-day return policy or free returns. Another important one for e-commerce businesses could be shipping times, like how fast is shipping? Is shipping free or not? All that stuff. And if you look at the scroll map and you see that, well, 70% of people have dropped off before they can see your return policy, then as a marketer, you know, all right, I know that uncertainty in the buying journey causes people to not convert, right? So it's bad for conversion rate. So if you see that nobody is seeing your return policy or your shipping policy through the scroll maps, then you can make an hypothesis where you say, all right, nobody knows these fundamental, I guess, information points. So let me put those higher up the page and then test it. And then also, which is really cool about a scroll map, is you know till how far people scroll now. So testing anything below that point is, generally speaking, a waste of your time, because you're focusing on components of the site that only 20% of people see, 10% of people see. So by focusing your own focal point to the level where everyone's focal point is, you can make a lot more impact. Then another really cool component is you can see the click maps, right? So you can see where people click. That is really valuable because you can see that people might interact with an element that is not clickable, right? So this is basically an error. You can see how people also interact with the navigation. So are they using it properly? You can also see if you have a sizing guide or whatever, or pop-up, how people interact with that. And some key things that we found out for apparel brands, for example, is that almost everyone clicks on the sizing guide. So we had like a pop-up, and that was just, the amount of attention that sizing guide got was insane. But then if you compared it with the scroll map, where we could see on the page that it said, oh yeah, model XYZ is XYZ tall, that information nobody saw. But they were clicking on the sizing guide that was further up the page. So we made the hypothesis like, all right, people need to know how tall the model is, right? Because if you're buying something, you're using relative measures. Like, all right, he's just as tall as me, or slightly shorter or longer, and he wears X and X size. It's really valuable information. But then nobody saw how tall that person was, or what weight he was, or whatever, the dimensions of that person. So that's another really cool hypothesis that we got from this information. So, all right, everyone wants to know the size because they're using the sizing guide. Let's move that model size up and see what that does to conversion rate. So that's a really interesting one. And then lastly, and this is the most valuable one, in my opinion, from Hotjar, is you can use surveys. So you can actually have exit intent pop-ups. That basically means if someone on desktop hovers his mouse outside of the actual page, so for example to the browser settings, like the where you put in the URL, or if they go to the return button or whatever, an indication that they're leaving, they get a pop-up, and we ask the question, hey, we're sorry to see you go, what's the reason you're leaving, or whatever, right? And then what we got from that was really, really interesting, because we found out that nobody could find their size. And this is done, again, specifically for an apparel brand. And from there, we took it upon ourselves to find out, right, like what's happening. And we found out that on the collection page, the functionality of that brand's sizing was really, really poor. So if someone selected the large size, it would not default to sizes that were in stock. So you'd have to select large, then the menu basically disappeared and would show you large. But then what you also had to do is you had to then additionally also go to the filter again, open it again while it defaulted to closing itself, and then select in stock. So you had to select in stock and the size, and otherwise it would just show you all the pages, because it would default to, oh yeah, I'll show you large, in stock and out of stock, which is basically every item, right? So the first filter was basically not a filter. So that was very valuable to see, right? And then an extra little trick that you can use is on mobile to also use exit intent, because it works a bit different. On desktop, exit intent works better because you can basically see where the mouse is going. They can track that and then exit intended. But on mobile, that's not possible because you can't really track a thumb if it's not on the screen. So what you can do is you can see in analytics what the average time spent on a product page is, and then just make sure that the pop-up is triggered after that moment. So if you see, all right, people spend on average 40 seconds on a page, then after 40 seconds, you can have the intent or the pop-up appear and have it say, hey, we're sensing you're in doubt or whatever. What's the hesitation? Like, what can we do? And then that can give you really valuable information. And you can use that then for mobile, right? Now, I just use that for information gathering and hypothesis creation. So I remove those surveys and exit intent pop-ups and all that stuff once I have done my research. So I might, depending on how much traffic we have, I might let that run for a week to 4 weeks. And then when I form my hypothesis, I just kill all that stuff because I don't want to interrupt the experiences. And I also make sure that it doesn't do that on a checkout page. Because we don't want to disturb people that are paying. What software to use, right? Because now we have hypothesis, We've analyzed the store. We know how important CRO testing is, but what software do you use to actually A/B test your site? If you are on Shopify, then I suggest using IntelliGems. I was fanboying basically when I found out that software existed, because you can A/B test a theme, which is really important and valuable, because then you can also test things like navigation. Whereas with other older A/B testing softwares on Shopify, you could A/B test the product page. Didn't really work that well in my opinion. But what you couldn't do is just change the navigation or the layout or the theme. And in A/B testing a theme, you can basically set up 2 different stores, and you can do a lot of awesome stuff, because you can change the navigation, you can change the homepage, and you can A/B test against each other. Do keep in mind that you only want to change one variable at a time, and if you don't have that much traffic, it's better to really take big swings, because the less traffic you have, the longer it takes for things to become statistically significant. So you have to take big swings, because you need to make a really big impact, because the bigger the impact, the shorter the learning time is. So that's really valuable. And you also don't want a small difference in performance if it takes you so long to track, right? Because if you only change the color on a checkout page or whatever, it's going to take forever, and the difference in performance is likely not going to be very much. So that would be not a very smart thing to test for a small brand. But then again, for like a brand like Amazon, they can do that a lot faster, and a tweak would make more sense. I mean, yeah, maybe I wouldn't do it, but I get that they would do it. So IntelliGems. Then another one is Varify. So VARIFY, or Y, I'd say. Sorry, that was a little Dutch. So IntelliGems is about like 100 a month. Then if you want to A/B test your prices, which is really cool, so you can just have one product and then sell it at 50 and 100 and see if your conversion rate drops or whatever, and then track again revenue per visitor. So that's really cool, because IntelliGems does that. They also do A/B testing of shipping prices, all that good stuff. And then that plan is 500, and then they have an even bigger plan of 1,000 a month. But you can check out those packages. Then, so Varify is, I believe, one of the cheapest ones. It is 90 or 100 as well. But the cool thing with Varify is that it doesn't run on Shopify. So you can use it for other softwares as well. And it only needs a good Google Analytics 4 integration. So from that perspective, is one of the cheapest A/B testing softwares, because it connects to GA4. So you don't pay more for more traffic or whatever, because they just do fair pricing, and they also depend heavily on GA4. So if you have GA4 set up, or you can do that, and you can also just have that be done by someone else pretty cheap, then you can just use Varify. So that's a really cool option. And then lastly, the one that I use is Convertcom. And the cool thing about Convert.com is that you can do Shopify, you can do Google Analytics connections, so you can do a lot of things, but you can also do that on a lot of different domains, and you get a lot of you get quite a lot of traffic that you can test. So it is more expensive, so that starts at, I think, 400 USD a month, and that is more of an agency software. So that's the benefit. You can connect to a lot of different domains, a lot of different softwares, and it just makes more sense if you have a lot of different projects. Now that we know how to get the idea, we know how to test it, right? So what testing software to use, and those testing softwares are all pretty self-explanatory. The way I like to test it is intelligence. I do theme versus theme. On Convertcom, I use split URL traffic a lot. So you use one destination URL that can be a specific destination. So if you say, for example, all right, I'm sending my traffic to mysite.com/Facebook, and you send all your Facebook traffic there. What you can do is you can use that URL and then do a split URL test where all the traffic that goes to that Facebook URL then gets split between the Facebook one by 50% and then also to variant A, for example, where you have built your new one. And then you have the same traffic source, but you split it to two different pages, and then the testing software takes care of calculating the statistical significance and all that stuff. Now, as a rule of thumb, you need a 95% statistical significance score. That is industry standard. And that should be the standard for you as well. Now, you do need quite some traffic for that, and you do need quite some conversion for that. So keep that in mind. I would say probably 10,000 visitors and 200 conversions on each landing page. Those are just rule of thumbs, right? So you can take that, leave that, do with it as you please. Now, for the last part, you need to generate your variants, right? You need to create pages. If you're on Shopify, Gem Pages is really easy to work with, so I can recommend that one. On Shopify, you can also use Replo. Replo is more custom, so you can do more beautiful things, but it's a little harder to navigate. If you don't have a site software yet, you can use Unbound. Unbound has a lot of template pages like listicles and all that good stuff. If you are on WordPress, you can use something like Elegant Themes. And then if you have a custom site where it's like PHP, well, I don't even know all the programming languages, but I guess HTML, all that stuff. What you can also do is just hire a professional contractor on a platform like Upwork, and make sure that you have at least like 5 to 10 interviews, and well, choose someone that's not just cheap, but also does a good job, right? Because sometimes cheap can get really expensive if they make mistakes on your store. So choose wisely there. Depending on the contractor that you use, they can make you product pages, they can make you home pages. You can do all of that with those softwares as well. If you need more custom jobs, like for example a card modification or whatever, you probably need more of a developer, and developers you can also find on places like Upwork, but those are a bit more expensive, generally speaking. Yeah, so to summarize, first of all, you use the first party data to make hypotheses. Then you use an A/B testing software so that whatever you create is statistically significant, and you can actually compound your results on top of each other, knowing that you've actually improved your revenue per visitor. I like using split URL tests because the source is the same, so the audience is the same, but you just split the traffic, so you don't have to do anything. And you can also do split URL for everyone that lands on your domain. So if you do theme versus theme, or one site versus a new site design, basically, if you're not on Shopify, split URL also makes sure that you can just test one site versus another site. Then lastly, you want to hire someone or get it done using the right softwares like Unbound, Replo, Gem Pages. Those last two were for Shopify, or Upwork contractors. And if you do those three things, hypothesis, create the landing page, proper A/B test, then you will see good results. Last point to that is test widely different things, because the bigger the difference in results will be. And the bigger the difference in the result, the shorter amount of time it takes to reach statistical significance, which can require some patience. So use your time wisely, because a proper A/B test might take 3 to 4 weeks. So you need a bit of patience. You can't go in and out, keep changing it. You have to have a proper hypothesis, a proper variant, and then a proper A/B test. So choose wisely, because whatever you create, you're stuck with it for 4 or 8 weeks, depending on the level of traffic that you have. And then just stick to it, because as mentioned, you can increase your revenue by 39% just with one A/B test, right? So keep that in mind. It's really worth it, and I think not enough people do it. So hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next one. Cheers.